I have a dream that one day we're gonna work it out. We're gonna work it out. We're gonna work it out. A dream. I got a dream that one day we're gonna work it out. We're gonna work it out. We're gonna work it out. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day I'm gonna look deep within myself. I'm gonna find a way. My dream is to be, my dream is to be, my dream is to be free.
In search of brighter days, I ride through the maze of the madness. Struggle is my address where pain and crack lives. Gunshots coming from sounds of blackness. Given this game with no time to practice. Born on a blacklist, told I'm below average. A life with no cabbage. That's no money if you're from where I'm from. Funny, I just want some of your sun. Dark clouds seem to follow me. Alcohol that my pops all bottle me. No apology, I walk with a boulder on my shoulder. It's a cold war, I'm a colder soldier. Hold the same fight that made Martin Luther the king. I ain't using it for the right thing. In between lean and the fiends, hustling the schemes. I put together pieces of a dream. I still have one.
I got a dream that one day we're gonna work it out. We're gonna work it out. We're gonna work it out. I have a dream. I got a dream that one day we're gonna work it out. We're gonna work it out. We're gonna work it out. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day I'm gonna look deep within myself. I gotta find a way. My dream is to be, my dream is to be, my dream is to be, my dream is to be free.
The world see me looking in the mirror, images of me getting much clearer, dear self. I wrote a letter just to better my soul. If I don't express it, then forever I hold inside. I'm from a side where we out of control. Rap music in the hood, play the fatherly role. My story like yours, yo, it gotta be told. Trying to make it from a gangster to a godly role. Red scrolls and stole slaves and Jewish people in cold cage. Hate has no color or age. Flip the page, now my race became freedom. Writing dreams in the dark, they far, but I can see them. I believe in heaven more than hell. Blessings more than jail. In the ghetto, let love prevail. With a story to tell, my eyes see the glory and well. The world waiting for me to yell. I have a dream.
I got a dream
That one day,
we're gonna work it out.
that one day,
We're gonna work it out. We're gonna work it out.
I have a dream.
I got a dream
That one day,
we're gonna work it out.
that one day,
We're gonna work it
that
out.
one day,
We're gonna work it out.
I have a dream
I have a dream
that one day,
one day
that one day,
I'm gonna look deep within myself.
That one day,
Find a way.
that one day,
I have a dream. I have a dream.
Mountainside, let freedom ring, and if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghanies of Pennsylvania.
Good morning from here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring. My name is Carolyn Zavadkin, and I am today's worship associate. My pronouns are she and her. I'm also a member of the Racial Justice Task Force, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to our hybrid worship service. This morning's service, People Who Need People, is brought to you by members of the Racial Justice Task Force. Religious education for children and youth is happening on Zoom today, and our sign language interpreter is joining us today from the Zoom world. However you are joining us today, I'm so glad you are here. If you are joining UUCSS today for the first time, welcome to our church. Pat Hesselbosch is our welcoming captain. This morning, Pat would be glad to answer questions on the Zoom chat, and she will be here in the sanctuary after the service to greet newcomers in person. If you're new, I encourage you to introduce yourself to others in the congregation today after the service, either in the Zoom chat or here in the sanctuary. While some of our members grew up in our church, many of us have had the experience of being first-time visitors. So if you see someone you don't know or recognize, please say hello. Those here in body today should be sure to wear our masks correctly over both nose and mouth, to stay distance from people who are not in our households, and to use the restroom downstairs, one person or household at a time. We also continue to ask that the congregation hum rather than sing to lower the risk of viral transmission. Thank you all for doing what you can to keep one another safe and well. Those on Zoom are welcome to use their own chalice or candle and join us in lighting the flame of community. If you don't have something nearby, you can go get something now, while we also take some time to express our gratitude to everyone who has contributed to today's service.
Hello. Please join me in the words on your screen as we light our chalice. May this light warm our hearts with love and caring and guide us in the ways of truth. This year, we are lighting an Advent wreath for the 4 Sundays leading up to Christmas. As Unitarian Universalists, it's valuable for us to reconsider and reinterpret the traditions of our ancestors. Our UU faith grows from Christian roots. Some UUs identify as Christians, others don't. We also have among us Jewish UUs, UU Buddhists, UU humanists, UU pagans, and Unitarian Universalists who don't see a need for any hyphens or modifiers. Together, we grow and change as we share our insights and struggles in response to our spiritual practices. In previous weeks, we lit candles for hope and peace. This 3rd Sunday of Advent, we light a candle for joy. Please join me in a call and response. Even in difficult moments, there are reasons for gratitude. We find joy in the people we love, in the beauty we find and create in traditions old and new. Now, please join me one more time in the words on your screen to reaffirm our congregational commitment. As we gather here for worship, we pledge ourselves to the endless search for truth, to the right of each to believe as mind, heart, and conscience dictate, to accept the responsibilities this freedom commands, and to implement our belief in the essential worth and dignity of every human being. Thank you. The words for today's invocation are by Amanda Schuber. If this is your first time here or your 101st, we are glad you are here. If you carry the weight of a weary world on your shoulders, or you entered the doors with a song in your heart and a skip in your step, we are glad you are here. If you are the loudest voice in the town square or the subtle hand behind the scenes, we are glad you are here. If you have failed once or 1,000 times, we are glad you are here. This community is what it is because of your presence. So welcome. Welcome into the space of love, support, justice, compassion, fellowship, and worship. We are glad you are here. So, we'd like to take a moment now to greet our neighbors. I'm going to try this in a way that connects our live and virtual worlds, and this is an experiment, so it might be a little chaotic. We ready to try? Cool. We will start with everyone greeting each other in their own spaces. So folks here in the sanctuary, turn to your neighbors and say, "I'm glad you're here," while folks online. And folks online, just let each other know in the chat that you're glad everyone is there.
We're glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to be here too.
So am I. So am I. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad that you're here.
Everyone in the sanctuary, if you could turn to the camera. No, are we in the back? We might be in the back, actually. My bad. just do a corkscrew. And
everybody, you're nice.
Jan and I are glad to be here. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad to be here.
Good morning.
There's the chat.
That's the chat.
Good morning.
Good morning.
But
Why are we hearing all this?
they ask,
Huh?
they ask everybody to unmute.
That's who is complaining.
Nobody's complaining. Nobody's complaining. It's just holy chaos.
The song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Don't fear, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Good morning. I'm going to be reading a book today called Because Amelia Smiled by David Ezra Stein. The service today is about interconnectedness and the ways we all need each other. I like to think about how one little thing we do can set off a whole chain of events we will never know about that could make a big change in someone's life. It reminds me that we need each other in big ways we can see, like depending on one another for help, and in harder to see, like the ways we learn from each other, and even maybe in small ways we'll never know, like in this story. Because Amelia smiled. Because Amelia smiled coming down the street, Mrs. Higgins smiled too. She thought of her grandson Lionel in Mexico and baked some cookies to send to him. Because Mrs. Higgins baked cookies, Lionel ate one of the cookies. He decided to share the rest with his class and teach them a song in English about cookies. Because Lionel taught his class a song, one of his students, kickboxer Sensacia Golpez, decided to be a teacher too. She had her cousin record her in the plaza and put the video online. Zesta Crump and her ballet club in England saw the video and decided to add some new moves to their goodwill recital in Israel. Kotz Gluberman, age 4, who was in the audience, decided he liked dancing after all. At bedtime, he danced his brother Ichabod to sleep. Because Kotz danced him to sleep, Ichabod slept all through the night. In the apartment next door, Betty Marlinspike, glamorous rumba queen, got a great night's sleep. She woke up in a good mood and took the band to get their hair done in Paris. The band felt so fancy, they gave a free show on the Pont Neuf. On the barge below, Gregor, the ex-clown, listened and sighed. Their love song, Con Corazon Intacto, reminded him of his old flame, the amazing Phyllis, who lived in Postiano, Italy. The next morning, he bought a bouquet to send her with a note that said, "Phyllis, after all these years, will you marry me?" Phyllis was so happy she threw the roses from a high wire. She was caught on film by a TV crew that was doing a story on stray cats. Back in New York, Lydia Frittata saw Phyllis on TV while making pizzas on Carmine Street. On the subway home, she began a scarf of roses for her niece, Pia Maria. She sat across from Pigeon Man Jones, who watched her and remembered his dear old grandma, who loved to knit. When he got back to his rooftop and let his pigeons out, he wondered if maybe, somehow, wherever Grandma was, she could see them. Because Pigeon Man Jones let his birds out, Amelia saw them, and she smiled. I wonder what you can do today that might set off a chain of events, or what you might notice someone else doing that will make a change in you. We need each other. And UUCSS is a place where we can notice the ways we learn from one another in community.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. And you too, everybody who's here. I'm Catherine Buckler, and I use the pronouns she and her, and I am a member of this beautiful congregation. I'm also a member of the Racial Justice Task Force, and hey, last June this congregation passed or adopted the 8th principle, a proposed addition to the existing 7 that guide us as Unitarian Universalists. So, now what? You probably haven't memorized the principle, so I'm going to read some of the awkward but profound words that call us to journey towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. Along with the other 135 UU congregations who have also adopted this principle, we're asking ourselves, well, how do we get there? I plugged beloved community into Google Maps, but it told me no route found. But there are sure a lot of us on the road heading in what we hope is a forward direction. Maybe right now the best thing to do is to pull over to a rest stop, pull out our picnic baskets, and see what happens. Today, 3 of us from the Racial Justice Task Force will share some thoughts about the road ahead. I'm going to start with the idea of dismantling white supremacy, beginning with the big lie. Not the big lie you're probably thinking of, although it is related. I am talking about the lie of our separateness. White supremacy can only exist when we believe that we are each separate individuals living in a finite world of winners and losers, oppressors and oppressed. Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams talks about this in the context of her Buddhist tradition. White supremacy, she says, has a deep investment in our belief of this lie, and we must boldly disrupt it by returning to the truth that there is no other. There is only oneness. Each of us has access to this truth of oneness. We feel it fleetingly when we see a beautiful sunset, or hold a newborn baby, or reach across differences to learn something new. And at any time, we can move towards it when we pause to turn inward during a quiet moment of meditation, prayer, or contemplation. But here's the rub. To get there, we must confront the lies we hold internally. At some point, while you are opening to the truth held in your heart, you will notice your mind creating thoughts that support the delusion, the grown from seeds that were planted in you before you knew any better, and reinforced by an outer world steeped in the separateness of white supremacy. You will see a part of yourself that your unconscious has worked hard to hide from you, but nevertheless dwells within you, steering you to stay in the habits of sometimes seeing people through the filters of lesser or better, different or same. When this happens, Kyoto Williams points us to the teachings of the Buddha, who advises us to look at the delusion. Look at how it lives in you, how it drives you and motivates you. And yes, grieve. Grieve that you didn't know any better. It should tear you apart. Confronting our delusion is painful, especially for those of us good people who see ourselves and who often are working for a more just world. But it is necessary if we are to push past the conditioning of white supremacy to access our free will. Again, Kyoto Williams. It is only when you realize the way you think and how you are has been utterly conditioned that you will understand that even if on the surface you get to do all kinds of things, in truth, you have absolutely no choices at all. You have no choice other than to support the delusion and be complicit in it, for fear that to disrupt it will destroy who you are. To disrupt it will destroy who you are. To see the fullness of who you actually are, with all our human ability to feel and cause pain, we must destroy the perception of who we think we are as simply good people. That's heavy and scary, but more importantly, it's transformative and liberatory. The pain we feel when confronting the dissonance between our desire to manifest universal love and our ability to cause pain when in the grip of the delusion is a powerful remembering of what we know deep in our bones to be true. We are connected. When you are in pain, I am in pain. My liberation is bound to your liberation. The pain and joy of this awakening draws us toward compassion and illuminates the way of acting to bend the universe towards justice for all. This is hard, solitary work, but we can travel on this path of self-discovery in community, in this community, of people who need people. We need each other to hold the pain we feel when we encounter the lie, and to rejoice with us when we experience our oneness. In this way, we move together toward the beloved community. So let us be together on Sundays and other days to share deeply and honestly what we are learning as we do our inner work. Let us hold our pain together and envision new and joyful ways of making good trouble. Come, let us sit together, open our picnic baskets, and share our riches. Thank you. I invite you now into a time of sharing our joys and sorrows. Today, we are going to dip our toes back into the sacred practice of sharing these in our own voices out loud in this sanctuary, as well as written in the chat of the sacred space we create on Zoom. For those of you watching online, we invite you to share your joy or sorrow in the chat, keeping in mind that it is very public right now. So keep that in mind as you write. But this is an act made holy by the witness and care of others worshiping online with you. If you are attending in person, we invite you to come forward to share your joy or sorrow with the congregation. We ask you to be brief so that others may share as well. And after you have shared, I will light a candle in the pulpit table in the pulpit table behind me. Kindling these lights is a holy act. It's a symbol of the illumination that comes from opening one soul to another. Let us prepare our hearts to hold these sacred joys and sorrows. I invite people in the sanctuary to come forward who want to share. I ask you can sort of form a line, socially distance. Keep your mask on when you are at the microphone, and then come on up.
I was very shocked and saddened this week to hear the death of my friend Miri in Israel. She was hit by a car, driven by a friend. I don't know the details, but she was a very well-known artist in her town of Renana, and in the city square there's a statue that she made, and I understand the city square will be named in her honor. Think of her family and friends who are so sad right now.
I want to share my joy to be in this space with all of you once again, and that my beautiful mother, I watched her put so much effort into this service, and it was amazing to hear your words, and I love you, and I love the person that you've raised me to be. And that person is somebody who is doing a lot of activism, and that's my other joy, is that I got to go climate caroling with my friends at the Republican Capitol Hill Club, and it was very fun, and it was a very enriching space.
I'm Donna B., and I'm excited that I will be seeing, if everything goes well, my son and daughter-in-law on Saturday. I haven't seen them in 2.5 years.
Hi, I'm Steve Leet. One joy is that this service went off. It seems to be going okay so far. Tech director, this was a lot of work. The other thing is, I spent 2 days this week participating in a European Space Agency workshop about how to solve the climate crisis using space solar power. And there were people from China, Korea, Australia, Great Britain, other countries in Europe, the US, that are all working very hard at this. And this is something that I studied with a professor who advocated this exact thing, solving our energy problems and the climate crisis by bringing the resources of space down to Earth. And it's been a long time since I was in college. And not much happened for a long time, but it is finally coming together, and it's a great joy for me. And I'm actually working on the biggest project, I think, in the world, the best funded project in the world to develop this technology at the company where I work. My heart is full.
I will now light a final candle in recognition of those joys and sorrows that are unspoken but remain in our hearts. Me again. We will now enter a time of prayer and silent meditation, followed by a moment of silence as we hold our joys and sorrows.
In times of deep grief and mourning, our human rituals have us gather not one or two at a time, but in great numbers, in community. For when we lose a friend or loved one, we lose not only who they were to us, but who they were to everyone, who they were to us all. So too it is in our times of great joy, when babies are born and people choose to enter into a covenanted partnership for life. We join in community because new life and committed love doesn't just bless the parents or the partners, it blesses everyone who knows them. In this spirit, this sense of being who we each are because of who we all are, I invite you into a time of prayer this morning. Spirit of life, we give thanks for all who came before us, who formed us into being, gave us models to follow and examples of what to avoid. We give thanks for this faith community, for the ways we all shape and change and contribute to it, for the ways it shapes and changes and contributes to us. We lift up all among and beyond us who are in pain and grief, and rejoice with those bursting with gratitude for their blessings. We marvel at the ways our presence and gifts, our support, will live on in the way this community nurtures those who come long after we are gone. We remember the stories of old, stories of faith and culture persevering by miraculous candlelight, of the mighty being brought down from their thrones and the lowly being lifted up, of the fire that never dies, even on the darkest night. Stories of strength and hope passed forward to us in holidays and holy days, stories we remember and make meaning with, not alone, but together, in conversation, in collaboration, in community. With all who have gone before us and all who will come after us, lifelong learners on this shared journey of life. For these and for all of the prayers of our own hearts this day, in the name of love and of all that we find holy, blessed be. Amen.
Hello, I'm Mary Beth Lerner, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm a member of the Racial Justice Task Force, and today I'd like to explore this question about the eighth principle. What is a diverse, multicultural, beloved community? I found one answer when listening to an interview on the Ezra Klein podcast between Klein and Richard Powers, the author of the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, The Overstory. In the interview with Klein, Powers describes his changing preoccupation from what he calls the human sciences and the technologies of mastery and control to the quote-unquote humbling sciences, such as ecology, botany, dendrology, biology. These are sciences that point our attention away from ourselves and onto other living things that focus on the more than human world. Powers describes them as technologies and sciences of interdependence and cooperation that, quote, increase our sense of kinship and being one of many, many neighbors, unquote. Ah, I thought, he means diverse, multicultural, beloved community, doesn't he? Interdependence and cooperation that increase our sense of kinship and being one of many, many neighbors. Perhaps the humbling sciences can be a guide on our journey. Elsewhere, Powers describes kinship as, quote, the recognition of shared fate and intersecting purposes, unquote. So kinship is not just based on genetics and relatedness, but on common cause and mutual benefit. Powers goes on to critique a dominant culture that is characterized by fixation on mastery and control, accumulation and maximizing return, and a consequent fear of divergence and difference. He refers to it as the culture of human separatism and commodity-mediated individualist capitalism, a mouthful to unpack, where a cultural consensus exists that, quote, meaning is a private thing that we do for ourselves and by ourselves, that somehow we are a thing apart, that we can make purpose and make meaning completely arbitrarily. Ah, I'm thinking, this sounds very close to white supremacist culture, its characteristics and its consequences. Then Powers points us to the humbling sciences for guidance. Specifically, the change in thinking that has occurred about what is happening underground at the root level in a forest. The Canadian scientist, Dr. Suzanne Simard, author of Finding the Mother Tree, has done groundbreaking work in this area. She found that beneath the forest floor, there is a vast mycorrhizal connection between the roots of trees and fungal mycelium. All sorts of resource sharing is happening underground between them. Trees sharing sugars and hydrocarbons critical for survival, as well as secondary metabolites. And not only is this symbiosis happening between the tree and fungi, but, and this is amazing, also across the mycorrhizal network to other trees. Here I got to quote Powers. There were actually trees in wired up, fungally connected forests where large, dominant, healthy trees were subsidizing, as it were, trees that were injured or not in favorable positions or damaged in some way or just failing to thrive, unquote. More research has since found that Douglas firs and birches are involved in this sharing back and forth of essential nutrients. In other words, across the species barrier. As Power says, and that's a whole new way of looking at the forest. Wow, wow. This is what the more than human world can teach us as we journey towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. Living things are interdependent. There is symbiosis all around us. Evolution happens not just through competition, but through cooperation and hybrids of competition and cooperation. After all, everything in an ecosystem is in mutual give and take with everything else around it. In the words of the Buddha, a tree is a wondrous thing that shelters, feeds, and protects all living things. It even offers shade to the axemen who destroy it. Valerie Kaur, founder of the Revolutionary Love Project, has said that stories can help us see no stranger. The stories of the trees can help us see no stranger. UUCSS's story of the eighth principle and beloved community can help us see no stranger. We are only in the early drafts, and yet look at what we've done. Look at the incredible response to the Afghan Family Resettlement Project getting underway. And did you know that our amazing board has committed to undertaking a time-consuming and thorough study of the UUA Commission on Institutional Changes report, Widening the Circle of Concern, which will be led by our equally amazing Rev. Kristen and Dr. Laura. And the Program Council is doing likewise. Defending Democracy's work for voting rights and much more is afoot. Finally, let's turn our gaze to what's afoot literally. When you're next in a woods, look down at the earth and imagine that vast network below. And then look up and feel grateful for the kinship of trees. Please join us in hymn 1017, Building a New Way, from the Teal Hymnal, Singing the Journey. Those joining remotely are invited to sing the words on the screen, while those present in the sanctuary are asked to hum along.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. Yes, we are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
There we go. Hello. I am Jake Ryder, pronouns he, they. I'm a member of this congregation and of its Racial Justice Task Force. It is really good to be here again, and thank you all so much for joining. This sermon started, as so many things in our lives do, with meetings to plan things out. We had lofty goals, trying to pin down who we are as a congregation, what makes this church a place that we want to be, and how we can extend this space so that it can truly be for everyone. These are big, open-ended questions, so I expected the conversation to be sprawling and introspective, and it was. What I didn't expect is how often that conversation would circle back to dread. Dread about the role of religion in our society, dread about the seemingly insurmountable task of overcoming white supremacy and transphobia and runaway capitalism and environmental devastation and all the myriad interweaving oppressions that bind us, and even dread about our own mortality, how little time we had to make a difference. It was pretty heavy. It also reminded me of a conversation I had about 2 years back, when we were wondering if a military assassination was about to spark another worldwide conflict, when news of a spreading virus seemed so far away, and when a new friend introduced me to the concept of hopepunk. In a sentence, it means choosing hope not in spite of the world's issues, but because of them. I thought it was worth revisiting. Hopepunk, H-O-P-E-P-U-N-K. It is a term coined by writer Alexandria Rowland in mid-2017 to describe a new literary genre, and more generally, a rising trend in storytelling, but hopepunk is also a useful name for a movement online of a culture which embodies similar values. At its simplest, it describes stories which center hope in the face of adversity, which urge the audience to never give up, and which elevate the values of compassion, humanity, and love. It's nice enough, but kind of generic, saccharine maybe? So let's go one step further. When a system tolerates, normalizes, and rewards cruelty, then kindness can be seen as an intentional, radical choice. Compassion is a form of resistance against oppression, and love can indeed be revolutionary. When all the world seems hopeless, it's very punk to keep on hoping anyways. Hence, hopepunk. My friend Ezra explained this to me using the show The Good Place as an example. Some spoilers ahead. The show follows a group of people entering an afterlife which appears like paradise, but is subtly and intrinsically set up to constantly bounce these folks and their flaws and insecurities off each other, thus tormenting them for all eternity. Hell is other people, right? Well, that does happen for a time, but crucially, they're also genuinely connecting with each other in the process. Through all these trials and tribulations, because of all these trials and tribulations, they are able to grow together and learn from one another and strive and fight and hope for positive change until they can bring this hope out into the afterlife and revolutionize the whole dang place. It's an incredible comedy, one that engages with moral issues and the hard emotions that come from connecting to one another. And it's an amazingly positive show, one that centers on the essential worth and dignity of every human being. Other great examples of hopepunk include the show Ted Lasso, which is every bit as much about the power of relentless positivity as it is about the heavy emotions that we all struggle with. There's also N.K. Jemisin's 3-time Hugo Award-winning trilogy, Broken Earth, a fantastic story which is about tectonic magic, yes, but also much more about community in times of crisis and the way systemic oppression manifests, and the ways it can be dismantled. And heck, we could probably count most songs by the Mountain Goats. I'm gonna make it through this year if it kills me. Art imitates life, life imitates art. Let's look at some context. 2017 was the start of the Trump presidency, who saw emboldened totalitarian regimes around the world. Right-wing extremism was on the rise, and so was violence and discrimination against minority groups in the US. For many of us, the last few years have felt dark, dismal, and more than a little hopeless. It makes sense then that this movement centering hope could take root in our art, not idealistic and wide-eyed, but informed by grief and anger, and bent towards resistance and survival. It makes sense that folks gathered to discuss community building and collective action, and how to strive together toward the perpetual goal of building better social systems. It makes sense to see a rise in stories focused on the constant struggle for progress against systemic oppression, with all the complex messiness that struggle entails. It makes sense to spend our time learning to rest and take care of ourselves, since this work will not be done in a day or a year or a lifetime, and is still so worth doing. And it makes sense to look at this emerging blend of hopeful resistance, this movement of community, and righteous anger and revolutionary love, and to give it a name, hopepunk. This time, anyways. In an interview with Vox about coining the term, Rowland stressed that hopepunk is just a new name for a very old feeling. These feels resonate with me so well because they are built from and upon other things that I resonate with. Rowland cites both historic and fantastic inspirations, including the Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., Robin Hood, and Jesus of Nazareth, who saw injustices before them and led revolutionary action against them. Hopepunk comes from the learnings and cultures of so many communities who have suffered oppression and chosen hope. From the gospel tradition, from Latin revolutionary music, from jazz and blues, and from more art than I know about. It strongly evokes revolutionary love, since the two movements are contemporary and hold many values in common, and quite relevantly, Hopepunk's ideas of communities, of being together and striving together over the long haul to make a better society, on the very real and tangible difficulties that struggle entails, are all crucial elements of beloved community. This movement is bold and beautiful, and just one small piece of a continuous history of hope. So, where does that leave us? I still don't have any perfect answers about who we are, or where we're going, or how we'll get there, but I have some ideas that might help. For starters, we are not alone in this search. We've got a whole congregation of people here with us and online, and the last time I checked, they all had a helping, serving. Start that sentence over again. There are so many people with us here and online, and last time I checked, they still had a healthy serving of hope and punk in each of them. There are so many people who are in so many ways pondering and planning and doing whatever we can to make a better world. So there's still plenty for us to read and watch and learn and think and sing and dance and do along with them. I'm excited and a little nervous, but more than that, I'm hopeful. And I think that we are and can be people who choose hope and love and kindness, not despite the world's issues, but because of them. Let's do some good.
It's now time for the offering, the part of our service each week dedicated to the practice of generosity. Rather than charge people to attend worship or send their kids to religious education on Sundays, we fund the work that helps us live out our mission as a church through the generosity of our members and friends. There are many ways you can make your financial contribution today. The first is by downloading the Vanco Mobile Faith Engagement app from Vanco to set up an account. For those who have been making offerings using the Give Plus mobile app, please know that the old app was retired. Please follow the instructions on the screen to download the new Vanco Mobile Faith Engagement app and select UUCSS in order to give. The second way to give is by using your phone to text a message to 833-880-1363. If the app or texting just don't work for you, the third way to give is by mailing a check directly to the church. And if you are in the sanctuary, feel free to drop your offering into one of the plates as it is passed through the congregation during the music. We give thanks for every gift given today, for the opportunity to practice generosity together, and for the ways our gifts are more powerful together than they are apart. The offering will now be given and received with gratitude.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
One foot, a 1 foot, a 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot, a 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot, a 1 foot, lead with love. 1 foot,
Put one foot
a 1 foot,
in front of the
1 foot,
other.
a 1 foot, 1 foot,
Put one foot
a 1 foot,
and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other, lead with love. Put one foot and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other, in front of the other. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. Well, we're not alone. We're not alone. Don't give up. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other, in front of the other. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other, in front of the other. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. Look up ahead. The path is there. The path is there. You gotta put one foot in front of the other, in front of the other. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other, in front of the other. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Now I know you're scared. I know you're scared. Well, I'm scared too. Well, I'm scared too. But here I am. But here I am. Right next to you. Right next to you. You gotta put one foot in front of the other, in front of the other. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other, in front of the other. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love, and lead with love, and lead with love.
May the gifts we have given fuel the flame of our commitment, empower us to serve out our mission, and give the life we share the shape of truth, love, and justice.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm Carl Miller. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring. My pronouns are he and him. Our church is not only the organization that puts together these services, we are a vibrant community of volunteers and staff, a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and a part of the global UU denomination. Visitors are welcome to join us for our virtual coffee hour after the service to learn more about us. Just stay right where you are in front of your Zoom screen, or come back to it after you grab your coffee. It will be on the same Zoom link as this service is, so join us there. Today we have several announcements, 5 actually. First, we hope that you will be able to join us next Sunday, December 19th, for our morning service. While we can't have a pageant this year, the worship we planned is for people of all ages and will offer several different kinds of experiences. The service is a bit of a choose-your-own-adventure. You can begin inside the sanctuary with Reverend Kristen or outside on the lawn with Dr. Laura. But after the first 20 minutes, everyone will be invited to move through several stations, including a centering station, candle-making station, and outdoor caroling station. We'll conclude with music around some fires, reminders of the fire that never dies away even on the longest night. Though there are many in-person components, next Sunday's morning service will also be broadcast on Zoom as usual, and ASL interpretation will be provided. Also, next Sunday evening at 7:00 p.m. Eastern, Reverend Kristen and the clergy from Community Church of New York, the Greenville UU Fellowship in South Carolina, and the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood, New York, will be offering a Bluest Night service with ASL interpretation provided. We hope you'll join us for this service specifically for those coping with loss and pain during the holidays. The link to the service is in the all-church email. Thirdly, today, Defending Democracy will be holding a discussion after the service in a Zoom breakout room hosted by Laura Nelson during coffee hour. Stay on Zoom, grab a snack, and join us to talk about current voting issues. If you're in the sanctuary and would like to attend, go to the Dolan Lounge after the service, where Bob Geiger and Mary Beth Lerner will host access to the coffee hour breakout room for you to join the discussion, while masked and distanced. The sign language interpreter will also be available in that breakout room on request at the start of the coffee hour. Auction donations are starting to come in, and they are literally out of this world. Look in the Uniter or this week's all-church email to find the URL to use to donate your item. Please complete one donation form for each item or event and have a photo or an image ready to upload for your item. If you want a refresher on how to donate using our online auction software, we will have a short training in a breakout Zoom room following today's service. Are there items that you would like to bid on, or are you wondering what to donate? Look for a wish list posting on the UUCSS Facebook page. Finally, I've got an important announcement from the board. Last Wednesday, the board sent everyone an email message about financing essential repairs to the community building infrastructure. And after the work on the sanctuary was completed, the remaining capital campaigns won't cover all the necessary expenses. So the board has decided to authorize borrowing funds to make up the shortfall. Now, here are some characters to tell you about the upcoming construction work and why it's so critical.
Good morning. We are part of the Capital Improvement Committee with a short skit about our upcoming construction work in the community hall. The upcoming work is essential to the safe operation of the building, and we hope you enjoy our punny way of highlighting the construction work to be done in 2022.
Hi. You can call me Drafty. I used to be a jolly happy soul, but lately my walls and my windows can't keep me warm. But soon my frown will turn upside down because I'm going to get double pane windows and much better insulation. Soon I'll be snug as a bug in a rug.
My name is Blaze, and I really used to light up a room and warm it up. Right now, I'm more of a flicker than a flame. But soon, I'll be replaced with an energy-efficient furnace and air conditioning. I'll be able to warm us all up and keep us comfortable in any season.
Hi, my name is Rusty. And I'm kind of falling apart, getting a little itchy and scratchy and things like that. So, but instead of just scraping by, we need to take some concrete steps to improve my lifespan and bridge the gap in building maintenance. So I'll soon be stripped down, cleaned, and weatherproofed, and treated, and in order to keep the sanctuary and community hall connected.
Oh, sorry.
Hey,
my name is
Go ahead,
Squirt, and I am being installed to keep my buddy Blaze under control. Montgomery County Code requires that sprinkles be added to the building to protect the church members, preschool kids, and renters. If there's ever a fire in the community hall, I guarantee there won't be a dry eye in the house.
And my name is Sunshine. I love a warm, sunny day. I will live on the roof of the community building and the sanctuary, and my panels will pull down the sun's rays and help power our buildings.
Okay, so if you'd like some more information about the ongoing and upcoming community hall construction, the 5 of us will be in the foyer after the service, or if you're watching the service online, there will be a Zoom coffee hour breakout room with Fred Teal and Robin Moore for more information.
Thank you.
Please participate in hymn number 1018, Come and Go With Me, from the Teal Hymnal, Singing the Journey. Those joining remotely are invited to sing the words on the screen, while those present in the sanctuary are asked to hum along.
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land.
singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound.
Please join me in the words of chalice extinguishing. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. This benediction is by Rebecca Savage. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, we have gathered under the banner of a shared faith. We are born of a welcoming grace that extends and receives love. We are touched by the ways we have fallen short of who we strive to be. And we here are reborn, forged by a greater courage. Let us move from this place, encouraged and refreshed for the journey ahead. And now our worship has ended and our service begins.
Do it. Count it out loud.
Do it again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, 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 do. Have a little faith, I say. Have a little faith, my friend. We got to help each other through thick and thin. These are trying times that we're living in. Have a little faith, I say. Have a little faith, my friend. We got trouble everywhere around the world. There's not a safe place to be for any boy, any girl. And everywhere you turn, there's destruction and pain. You got a mouthful of promises and a hatful of rain. Have a little faith, I say. Have a little faith, my friend. We got to help each other through thick and thin. These are trying times that we're living in. Have a little faith, I say. Have a little faith, my friend. There's evil all around the world. We got to rise above. Got to fight the good fight with the war with love. Hold on, hold on. Help is on the way. There's a better tomorrow. I can feel it today. Have a little faith, I say. Have a little faith, my friend. We got to help each other through thick and thin. These are trying times in my life and in. Have a little faith, I say. Have a little faith, my friend. 1, 2, 3. Have a little faith. Have a little faith.
Just
Have
a little bit of
faith. Whoa, just a little faith. Have a little faith. Well, have a little faith. Have a little faith, I say. Have a little faith, my friend. We got to help each other through thick and thin. These are trying times in our living in. Have a little faith, I say. Have a little faith, my friend.
Have a little faith, I say. Have a little faith, my friend. Have a little faith, I say. Have a little faith.